If I were to ask you how your year went, what would your honest response be? If you would have asked me a few days ago, I would have said, well, it was nice, but it was pretty difficult and stressful.
She absolutely hates this.
After putting this video together, however, I've decided to completely change my response. If you asked me now, I would honestly say to you that it was great. There were a handful of pretty stressful moments, but overall, my first year in Western North Carolina was a breathtakingly beautiful and magical year. We humans tend to remember best the experiences that are tied to strong emotions. And I don't know about you, but I typically have an easier time recalling the experiences that are tied to strong negative emotions. I mean, if you think of it, that's a great survival technique. We learned at a young age that if you touch a hot stove, you don't ever want to do that again. That memory is branded in your brain so you don't ever forget it. While looking through all my footage from the last year plus, I saw so many beautiful moments that I had completely forgotten about. Going through each clip made me feel as if all the negative experiences were actively shrinking in size with each recovered memory. It was a pretty special way to end the year, and it's something I've decided to do each year going forward. There's something special about the fall. The change in the light and the crisp, cool breezes have always brought a cozy, warm feeling to me. But that first fall in North Carolina was the most beautiful I had ever experienced. Seeing colorful fall foliage in person has always been on my bucket list, so I was blown away that this wild display of color was now a part of my reality. When I first moved here, I was renting a little cottage from a friend I had met at a vision quest in Colorado. When I made my plans to move out here, I had no idea that he owned property in the area, so it was such a special surprise when I found out that he did. And he was willing to rent it to me while I looked for a home to buy. This beautiful little cottage is located in the countryside, and it's surrounded by a cattle ranch and a ton of gorgeous nature. One of the most special surprises last year was that my friend Michelle, who I've known for over 20 years, got a travel nursing gig an hour and a half from where I moved. I arrived in late October, and her nursing job started in late November, and her contract was extended several times, so I had a dear friend nearby for my first 6 months in North Carolina. I think the universe gave me that blessing to keep me sane. I've moved places by myself before, but this time we were still under the restrictions of the pandemic when I got here, and it was very challenging to meet new people. It was such a comfort to have a friend who I know so well to explore my new home with. Winter in Western North Carolina is much different than it is in Colorado. It was a lot warmer, the ground never froze solid, and it snowed a lot less and started a lot later in the season. But we still got some snow, which made me happy because I really do love snow. I admit that I do wish it snowed more and more often here, but I prefer this to 7 months of winter.
Oh, it's Peter's favorite. It's not Maggie's favorite. Oh, little doggy.
Frida wishes we got more snow too. This dog is obsessed with the snow. Spring feels like a love affair. No, not that kind of love affair. They do that all the time, by the way. Every beautiful flower makes my heart go pitter-patter and brings a smile to my face. That first time running the lawnmower for the year feels a little exciting. The first time. The birds are out finding bugs to snack on. And the smells of the fresh blooms take your breath away. I get so excited when I see the first bees. And then the love affair with nature takes a crazy turn. Winter starts feeling a bit jealous and pushes its way back in.
Oh, please don't say goodbye.
I made a very conscious effort to learn to forage this past year. I took a foraging immersive course and have also been working with the company so I can really learn about the edible wild plants, trees, and fungi of the area. Ramps have become one of my absolute favorite wild edibles, and I created a delicious and easy ramp butter recipe, which requires way fewer ramps than most of the recipes out there. I'll pop a link to my recipe video up in the top right-hand corner. It is delicious on bread and amazing to saute mushrooms in. Michelle and I both love to laugh, and we love DIY projects, so we made some cold-pressed soap this past year. One of the ingredients in the soap, lye, can burn you if you touch the raw materials, so you have to wear lots of protective gear. Once it's mixed with other materials and the soap has been cured, it's somehow safe to rub all over your body. Kinda wild, I know, but this is how that fancy hippie soap that you see for sale at the farmers markets and in granola grocery stores is made. One thing I've been wanting to do for years is beekeeping. I unfortunately can't get any bees until I buy a property, but I did take a beekeeping class and I absolutely loved it. I am so excited to care for my own bees someday. I connected more to nature this year than I have in quite a while. It felt so good to rediscover my connection to the natural world after a lot of disconnection and depletion. And it felt so good to laugh and just be silly again. In the beginning of the video, I mentioned that this year had some pretty stressful moments. The scariest things I had to deal with were these unknown health episodes my little dog Maggie was having. At one point, I thought I was going to have to put her down, and my heart felt like it had shattered into 1,000 pieces. But thankfully, she got better. We still don't know what causes the episodes, but they happen way less frequently, and she's her normal, crazy little self when she's not having one. The other really challenging thing was trying to buy a home. I spent so many hours looking and made offers on 2 different places, but the market was insanely competitive, so even my offers over the asking price were rejected. The last rejection was the hardest. It happened right in the middle of Maggie's health crisis, and I felt like I was going to break. But I didn't. For the most part, it was one of the most magical summers of my life. Also started reading actual books again, something I hadn't allowed myself the pleasure of doing for quite some time. I saw fireflies for the first time when I was a teenager, when my family and I went to visit my aunt and uncle in Kentucky. From that moment on, I always dreamed of living somewhere with fireflies, and my dream was finally realized at age 39. So good. My time was coming to a close at the little cottage. I didn't know where I was going to move until 3 weeks before my moving date. And if you can imagine, that was a little stressful too. Thankfully, another friend who owns a couple of long-term rentals had one of his tenants unexpectedly give notice. He knew I was looking for a place to move, so he called me up and offered his rental. It was such a relief to know that I had somewhere to go and to know that I could stay for as long or as short as I need to. So in August, I moved to the city, and honestly, I was a bit depressed. High expectations will do that to you. Luckily, though, not long after my move, I took a trip to the lake with my parents. A couple of their friends own a little lake house 2 hours away from me, and they offered it to us for the week. I was in the lake every day that week. I felt the water wash away my feelings of sadness, and the paddling of my kayak helped me to shift my perspective. The right home and the right land will come to me eventually, but for now I need to do my best to enjoy my life exactly as it is right now in this moment. All I needed to do was to shift my perspective and look for all the beauty around me rather than focusing all my attention on the stressors. And when it comes to my sweet dogs, I need to see each day with them as a blessing. Maggie, the little one, is going to be 14 in March, and Frida, my big girl, is going to be 13 in May. They're doing really well for their ages, but I don't have much time left with them, and I need to do my best to appreciate every special moment that we share. After that trip, I started looking at life differently. I realized that I spent most of my year focusing on buying a home and then focusing on the lack of a home, rather than exploring my new area. So I decided to start going to a new place every week, and I made a video about that I'll link up in the top right-hand corner. I haven't perfectly stuck to the plan, but since I made that decision, I've been to so many new and beautiful places and have had so many special experiences. If I were to pick my most important lesson from this year, it would be this: life is what you make it. I made hell for myself in the middle of the summer, but I also made my way out of hell. Obviously, I couldn't control what happened to little Maggie, but I learned to have better control over my mental state, so I no longer live in constant fear and anxiety. That took a lot of time and practice, and quite frankly, I'm still working at it, and most likely always will be. But I've made great strides. I think our most powerful tool as human beings is our ability to change our inner state. We can use external means to help us do that, but we also have the ability to do it internally as well with practice. I spent most of my life practicing a state of feeling anxious and depressed, so I got really good at feeling those emotions, unfortunately. After everything that happened this summer, though, I knew that if I allowed myself to wallow in those states, I was going to break. My nervous system was absolutely fried, and it couldn't take it anymore. So I started practicing feeling positive emotions instead. And you know what? Although I've still had my challenges and I still have hard moments, life overall is looking a lot better now, because life is what I make it.